Yep. So this is going to be making soap out of tallow, otherwise known as beef dripping. So before people like the Lever Brothers, the soap that most people in Britain would use would be made from animal fat because it was a lot cheaper than things like olive oil that was used for the much nicer soaps. You'll see at the end that this is not a particularly nice soap to use, but it's what you need because you need fat and lye, which is a very toxic substance, to make soap. Lye would be extracted from ashes by people working in horrendous conditions, just no health and safety, no workers' rights, nothing. Then I'm going to put on some safety equipment first. Okay, my skin is protected, my eyes are protected, my lungs are protected, and my hair is out of the way. So the first thing to do is to actually measure out the lye, which is why I'm protected. I've got my nice long spoon, so I'm coming into as little contact as possible. Okay. So now is the most dangerous part, which is adding the lye to the water, which this is why we won't let you do it at Yak, if you're watching this from Yak. So we're just going to add it very, very, very gradually because there will be a chemical reaction which will get hot, it might potentially steam up. And that's dangerous. This is why soap making and pretty much anything with chemicals was one of the most dangerous jobs for a very long time. Just adding a little bit at a time, letting that dissolve. I'm going to mix that in before I add any more. You can see it's already mixing in. And I can feel that is actually getting a little bit warmer. So you have to add the lye to the water rather than the other way around. So if I did it the other way around, all of the lye would react at once and could potentially explode. And I'm being very careful not to spill any. So I am wearing protective clothes. And I'm wearing long trousers, long sleeves, and closed shoes. But if it gets on my clothes, there's still a chance it could do some damage before I could get the clothes off. For the chemists among you, lye is a metal, generally sodium, sometimes potassium hydroxide. So again, is extracted from ashes traditionally. There's a theory that the first soap came from cooking fat dripping into ashes and forming this substance, and people being people started experimenting with it. So people could potentially have made this at home and probably did for most of history before industrialization. But obviously a little less protected than I am now. I think we're safe to put the rest in. And we're just going to mix that in until it dissolves. Just to prove how hot it gets, I've got my laser thermometer. So it's over 70 degrees. It did get up to almost 80, but we had a slight recording issue. So while that's cooling down, I'm going to put that over there out of the way. We need to melt this because you need a liquid fat, and this is not liquid. It's creeping up on it because it's a very hot day, but I'm going to cut this up and melt it. This feels really greasy and disgusting. So, tallow, you might have heard of tallow candles, is beef fat. So, the sort of grease that you'd get off a Sunday roast. And I'm just cutting this up so I can melt it better. And it really doesn't want to be cut up. And this is a pre-weighed amount, because that's how you tend to buy things these days. So because soap making is chemistry, I've worked out how much live water I need to turn this into soap. This is my first time making soap from scratch, so it'll be interesting just to see what happens. Because most soap nowadays is made from vegetable fat, plant fat. For example, palm olive is largely olive oil. Temperatures of these are now virtually the same, which I'm told makes it more likely that the soap will actually work. So I'm going to very, very carefully pour the lye into the fat. Making sure nothing splashes up onto me or onto Nick, who's filming, and is also wearing protective things. And then we want to mix this together till it forms what's called an emulsion. This is where they're chemically combined into one substance, in this case soap. And the word for this is saponification. I've always thought it was a fun word. Naturally, in factories, this is normally done by machines, but I wanted to keep it old school as much as possible for this. But it can take a while. You can probably stop it. So this is now emulsified. So I'm just going to pour it into the molds. What takes a few seconds to emulsify with something like a hand blender or an industrial mixer, it's taken several minutes. My arms are a little bit tired. But we should be able to come back to these in a few hours and have full bars of historical soap. Okay, it's been a couple of days, so I'm gonna try and unmold these and see what they're like. They actually don't feel too bad. They do have a smell though. Like it's not a full-on this is meat fat kind of smell, but they don't smell like you would want a soap to smell. You can see just because it wasn't the best quality of ingredients as well. You've got a little bit of, I don't even know what you would call that, bloom, ashing. But they don't feel greasy. Should we go try one in the bathroom sink?
Why not?
So yeah, that was my attempt to make soap with purely animal fat. it did work. I tested it out in the bathroom, and it's not too bad. It just leaves kind of a feeling on your hands. Like your hands are clean, but they don't feel entirely cleaned. Which might just be because I'm more used to vegetable soap ones. But yeah, probably gonna do a bread and thread episode on soap soon. But I hope you enjoyed watching me making soap.